The steam rises slowly from a cup of tea, cooling in the quiet of a kitchen that feels far too empty. Around you, the remnants of a busy day have been cleared, leaving only a heavy silence that settles like lead in your chest. You spend hours trying to hold everything together, but every effort felt like pushing against an invisible, unresponsive wall. If this is your reality, chosen one, you are not failing. You are being set apart. Why is it that the very place where you expected support has become the source of your deepest exhaustion? Why does the path of divine calling so often begin with a sudden, painful fracturing of your comfort? We are told from our youth that strength means never showing weakness. We are told that a strong faith is one that never doubts, never questions, and never cries out. Yet, you look at the silence around you and feel only the sting of spiritual dryness. You feel the absolute exhaustion of trying to look strong for everyone else, while your own soul feels like a parched desert. This is the silent ache that many carry, but few dare to actually voice. It is the deep agony of feeling like an exile in a world that demands constant, shallow happiness. Think of the moments when the night is at its deepest. The house is completely still, and the only sound is the quiet hum of the refrigerator or the distant rush of traffic. You sit on the edge of your bed, your head resting in your hands. Your phone lies face down on the nightstand, its screen dark and silent. You want to pray, but the words feel heavy, stuck in the back of your throat. You have spent the entire day pouring out your energy for others, listening to their problems and carrying their burdens. But now, in the quiet, there is no one to carry yours. You feel a physical ache in your chest, a tightness that will not let go. You ask yourself if you are doing something wrong, if your faith has somehow faltered. You remember the times when prayer felt natural and close, when you could feel the presence of God like a warm blanket. Now, it feels like your voice is bouncing off the ceiling, returning to you empty and cold. It is a slow-wearing weight that whispers to your spirit that you are forgotten. It tells you that your quiet struggles do not matter, and that your tears are shed in vain. You stare at the wall, wishing for a sign, any sign, that the Creator of the universe is still listening to your breath. Let me validate this heavy season for you today, chosen one. The emptiness you are feeling in this moment is not a sign of God's rejection. It is the necessary preparation for your next spiritual elevation. When God prepares to place a fresh mantle upon a vessel, He first empties it of all self-reliance. He allows the external voices to fade into silence, so that you are forced to seek His whisper. If you carry a unique calling, you cannot expect those who walk in the ordinary to understand your wilderness. They have not heard the instructions that God spoke to you in the secret place. They only see your isolation and mistake it for defeat. But the isolation is not your prison. It is your womb of preparation. It is the place where your roots are forced to go deep, searching for the hidden waters of His grace. Do not mistake the silence of God for the absence of God. The quietness around you is actually His hand shielding you from the noise of the world. He is keeping you hidden because the work He is doing in you is too precious to be exposed to public view. This brings us to the first prayer you must send to God when you are in despair. The prayer of honest pain. This is the prayer that drops all religious masks and speaks with absolute, raw truth. It is the cry that says, "Lord, I hurt and I do not understand why." We see this prayer modeled throughout the scriptures, most notably by King David in the Psalms. In Psalm 13, David does not begin with a praise. He begins with a desperate question. He cries out, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" This is a man after God's own heart. yet he is expressing deep, raw despair. He is not pretending to be strong. He is laying his brokenness directly at the feet of his Creator. He asks God how long he must wrestle with his thoughts and have sorrow in his heart every day. This is the prayer of the wilderness, where you tell God exactly how heavy the burden has become. It is telling him that you are tired, that you feel abandoned, and that your strength is failing. God does not turn away from this honesty. He draws close to it. He is not offended by your questions, nor is he threatened by your tears. In the midst of your darkest night, he is close enough to count the breaths you take. He does not ask you to hide your pain behind religious platitudes. He only asks that you bring it to him, raw and bleeding, just as it is. We must understand that God values your honesty far more than your religious performance. He does not need your polished words, your rehearsed prayers, or your forced smiles. He desires the truth of your heart, even when that truth is messy and broken. When you try to hide your pain behind a mask of strength, you prevent him from healing the very areas that hurt. Despair often grows in the dark, in the spaces where we refuse to let God enter. But when you bring your honest pain into the light of his presence, you break the power of despair. You are saying, Lord, I am not okay, but I am bringing my brokenness to you. This is not a lack of faith. It is the ultimate expression of faith. It is trusting God enough to show him your wounds, knowing that he will not use them against you. He does not look at your despair as a sin. He looks at it as an invitation to comfort you. Your tears are not a sign of weakness. They are the liquid prayers of a soul that is ready for restoration. When your heart is broken, it is open to receive the seeds of his greatest revelations. The pain you feel is the ground being broken up for a harvest you cannot yet see. Trust that the potter knows exactly what he is doing with the clay in his hands. If you are standing in this place of honest pain today, I want you to make a quiet declaration of faith. I want you to release the burden of having to appear strong for everyone else. Take a deep breath and let the truth of your heart be known to the heavens. Write in the comments right now, I am calling. Let this simple message be a sign that you are bringing your honest pain into the light. As you type these words, feel the pressure of performance begin to lift from your shoulders. You do not have to explain your path to anyone else, nor do you have to justify your struggle. You are simply calling out to the one who fashioned you in secret, knowing that he hears every whisper of your soul. Let this comment be your monument of honesty, a declaration that you are ready for him to meet you in your dryness. We are about to step into the second prayer, where we learn the power of surrendering the outcomes to his sovereign hand. This leads us directly to the second prayer, a petition that is often the hardest to speak. The prayer of surrendered control. When despair settles into your life, chosen one, it is usually because there is a gap between what you want and what is happening. You are holding on to a plan, a timeline, or an expectation that you believe must occur for you to be happy. You wrestle in the night, trying to figure out how to force open doors that God has clearly closed. The prayer of surrendered control is the simple but profound declaration, Lord, not my will, but yours be done. It is the prayer of the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus himself, in deep agony, released his human preference. He did not pretend that the cup before him was pleasant. He asked if it could pass, but then he immediately anchored his heart in the sovereignty of the Father. When you pray this prayer, you are not admitting defeat. You are declaring trust. You are saying, Father, I do not understand your timing, but I trust your heart. You are admitting that your vision is limited, but his is infinite. You are releasing the heavy weight of trying to play God in your own life. You are placing the timeline, the career, the relationship, and the healing back onto his altar. Many believers mistake surrender for weakness or giving up. They think that if they stop fighting, they will lose everything they have worked for. But in the economy of heaven, chosen one, surrender is the only path to true victory. When you hold on to your anxiety, you are declaring that you can manage the situation better than the Creator of the stars. You block the flow of divine grace by trying to control every detail with your own strength. But when you open your hands and let go, you allow the hand of God to move on your behalf. You create space for Him to do what you could never do through striving and worry. As C.S. Lewis often reminded us, when we lay down our arms and stop fighting God's plan, we find our true strength. The waiting room is not a place of passive waiting. It is a place of active surrendering. Every time you choose to trust Him instead of worrying, you are gaining a spiritual victory. You are telling the enemy that your peace is not dependent on your circumstances, but on the character of your King. The third prayer you must send to heaven is the prayer for quiet strength. This is the prayer that seeks stillness in the middle of a raging storm. It does not ask for the storm to stop immediately. It asks for the heart to remain calm while the wind is blowing. When despair attacks your mind, it does so by creating a chaotic noise of fear and doubt. It whispers that you will fail, that you are not enough, and that the future is dark. The prayer for quiet strength is the quiet declaration, Lord, quiet my mind and give me the power to be still. It is the prayer that aligns with the command in Psalm 46 verse 10, be still and know that I am God. This stillness is not a passive emptiness. It is a quiet, powerful confidence. It is the strength that comes from knowing that your protector does not sleep or slumber. You are asking God to quiet the racing thoughts that keep you awake at night. You are asking Him to calm the anxiety that makes your chest feel tight and your breath feel shallow. You are choosing to rest in the shadow of His wings, even when the battle is raging just outside your door. To understand the nature of this quiet strength, chosen one, we must look to the prophet Elijah in the wilderness. Elijah was in deep despair, fleeing for his life, feeling completely isolated and defeated. He sat under a broom tree and asked God to take his life, believing that his work was in vain. God did not condemn him. He met him in his weakness. He led him to a mountain and showed him a great and strong wind that tore the mountains apart. But the scripture tells us that the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was a violent earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire raged, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, there came a low whisper, a still small voice. It was in that quiet whisper that God spoke to the heart of his prophet. He did not speak in the chaos or the noise. He chose the silence to reveal his presence. Your despair may be looking for a dramatic, loud rescue, but God is inviting you to hear his whisper. Think about the physical reality of a whisper, chosen one. A person cannot whisper to you from across a noisy street. They cannot whisper to you if they are standing far away. A whisper requires the person to be right next to you, close enough for their breath to touch your ear. When God speaks in a whisper, he is not trying to make it hard for you to hear him. He is demonstrating his extreme closeness to your soul. He is showing you that he is not a distant, uncaring force, but a loving Father who is right beside you in the dark. In your despair, you may feel that his silence means he has abandoned you, but the silence is actually the ultimate sign of his proximity. He is so close to you that he does not need to shout to get your attention. He only needs to whisper. The next time you feel overwhelmed by the noise of your problems, quiet your heart and listen. Listen for the gentle whisper that tells you that you are loved, that you are safe, and that your story is not over. If you are ready to claim this quiet strength and hear the whisper of God in your storm, let us stand together. Let us declare to the spiritual realm that we will not be moved by the noise of the enemy. We will choose the stillness of His presence over the chaos of our doubts. Write in the comments right now, "Lord, hear me." Let this be your prayer of connection, a signal to the heavens that you are listening. As you write these words, imagine the peace of God settling over your mind like a quiet fog. Feel the tension leave your neck and shoulders, and let your spirit rest in His promises. You do not have to fight the battle alone. You only need to remain still and let Him speak. Your declaration is being heard, and the answer is already on its way in the quiet of the night. We will now prepare for the fourth prayer, where we look back to find the strength to face the challenges of today. As we walk deeper into this spiritual wilderness, chosen one, we must confront the true nature of despair. Despair is not just a passing mood or a temporary sadness. It is a heavy spiritual weight that feels like an uninvited guest who has moved into your house. It sits at your table, walks with you through the day, and refuses to leave when you turn out the lights. It makes the simplest tasks feel like climbing a mountain. It whispers that the pain you feel today will be the pain you feel forever. In these dark moments, the temptation is to hide your struggle from everyone, including God. You feel that showing your pain is a sign of weak faith. You try to paint a picture of joy, even when your heart is breaking in pieces. But pain is not something to be ignored or covered up. It is a physical and spiritual alarm that tells you that something deep inside requires attention. It is a signal that you have reached the end of your own strength and must rely on a higher power. C.S. Lewis, the great Oxford scholar who wrestled deeply with his own seasons of profound grief and doubt, understood this reality. In his classic work, The Problem of Pain, he wrote words that have comforted millions of souls in their darkness. He captured it, writing, "God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is His megaphone to rouse a deaf world." Think about the depth of that truth, chosen one. When your life is easy and comfortable, it is easy to let the voice of God become a soft background noise. You hear Him, but you do not truly listen. But when you are in pain, His voice becomes the only thing that matters. Despair strips away all the distractions of the world. It silences the noise of material success, human applause, and temporary pleasures. It leaves you alone in the quiet, where the shout of God can finally reach your heart. He is not shouting in anger or condemnation. He is shouting to wake you up to the reality of His presence and His love. He is using the very pain that the enemy meant for your destruction to call you back to His side. This brings us to the fourth prayer, a powerful weapon against the spirit of despair, the prayer of remembrance. When you are in the middle of a trial, the enemy wants you to focus only on your immediate pain. He wants you to believe that because the present is dark, the future will be dark as well. The prayer of remembrance is the deliberate act of looking back to count the victories of the past. It is the prayer that declares, "Lord, I remember your faithfulness in the seasons that came before." You are reminding your own soul of the times when He delivered you from situations that seemed impossible. You are recounting the doors He opened, the provisions He sent, and the healing He performed. When you pray this prayer, you are building a bridge of faith from your past to your future. You are declaring that the God who was faithful yesterday will be faithful today and tomorrow. You are refusing to let the darkness of this moment blind you to the light of His history in your life. You are telling your soul that the story did not end when the trial began. We find a beautiful physical demonstration of this prayer in the life of the prophet Samuel. In the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 7, the Israelites were facing a terrifying attack from their enemies, the Philistines. They were afraid and felt completely helplessness in their own strength. Samuel did not offer them empty words of comfort. He called them to pray. After God granted them a miraculous victory, Samuel did something that would mark their history forever. He took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen. He named the stone Ebenezer, which means the stone of help, and he declared to all the people, "Thus far, the Lord has helped us." Every time an Israelite walked past that stone, they were reminded of God's deliverance in their hour of despair. In your life, chosen one, you must raise your own spiritual Ebenezer stones. You must look at your past and declare, "Thus far, the Lord has helped me, and He will not stop now." When you understand the purpose of your struggle, your outlook on pain changes. You realize that the heavy weights you are lifting today are not meant to crush you. They are meant to build the spiritual muscle required for your next assignment. A soldier is not trained in a palace of comfort. He is trained in the heat of the desert and the cold of the mountains. God is using this season of despair to forge a weapon that the enemy cannot destroy. He is refining your character, stripping away the golden impurities of self-reliance and pride. The pain you feel is the heat of the furnace, but you are not being consumed, you are being purified. As C.S. Lewis captured it, we are like blocks of stone that the sculptor is carving into a masterpiece. Every strike of the chisel hurts, but it is removing the pieces that do not belong. It is revealing the true form of the person God created you to be. Do not reject the chisel, chosen one. It is preparing you for a weight of glory you cannot yet imagine. If you are ready to stop fighting the chisel and surrender the heavy burden of your pain, let us do so now. Let us declare that we trust the hands of the potter, even when the wheel is spinning fast. Let us release the anxiety of the future and the regret of the past. Write in the comments right now, "I surrender all." Let this be your act of faith, a monument of release in the presence of your King. As you type these words, imagine yourself laying your heavy stones at the foot of the cross. Feel the freedom that comes from knowing that you no longer have to carry the weight of your destiny. He is the one who began the work in you, and He is the one who will bring it to completion. Your surrender is not a sign of defeat. It is the first step toward your ultimate victory. We will now move into the fifth prayer, where we learn to trust Him in the deepest silence of the night. This leads us to the heart of the wilderness, chosen one, the silent season. This is the season when the heaven above you feels like solid brass, and the earth beneath you feels like iron. You cry out in your despair, but your words seem to bounce back off the ceiling. You ask for guidance, but you receive only a quiet, heavy silence. Your tears become your food day and night, and the enemy whispers that God has turned His back on you. He tells you that your prayers are useless because they've not produced immediate results. This is the silent test that every chosen vessel must undergo before their public reveal. It is the season when your faith is tested in the dark, away from the warmth of emotional feelings. It is easy to believe in God's love when you can feel His presence and see His blessings. But the true measure of your calling is found when you continue to pray in the quiet. It is found when you choose to trust Him when there is no visible evidence that He is working. This is the silent season that prepares you for the weight of your calling. In his deep spiritual journey, C.S. Lewis reached a point where he wrestled with the silence of God. In his raw and honest work, Till We Have Faces, he wrote a prayer that speaks to the heart of every soul in despair. He captured it, writing, I know now, Lord, why you utter no answer. You are yourself the answer. Before your face questions die away. Think about that profound revelation, chosen one. When we are in despair, we want God to give us answers. We want Him to explain why this happened, when it will end, and what the future holds. But God does not give us answers. He gives us Himself. His silence is not His absence. It is His invitation to stop asking questions and rest in His presence. Before the face of the Almighty, all our small questions fade into insignificance. He is the peace that passes understanding, the anchor that holds in the storm. When you can no longer hear His voice, look for His face in the quiet of your heart. You will find that He is not ignoring you. He is simply holding you close, waiting for your soul to quiet down. This brings us to the fifth prayer, a declaration of pure faith, the prayer of blind trust. This is the prayer that does not require sight, feelings, or immediate proof. It is the prayer that says, Lord, even when I cannot see you, I trust you. It is the cry of a soul that has decided that God's character is more reliable than human circumstances. When you pray this prayer, you are declaring that you will not walk by sight, but by faith. You are telling the enemy that your trust is not for sale and that your devotion is not based on conditions. You are saying, Father, I do not see the way out, but I know you are the way. This is the prayer that breaks the power of despair because it removes the requirement for immediate understanding. It allows you to rest in His sovereignty, knowing that He sees the end from the beginning. It is the prayer that keeps you walking forward in the dark, one small step at a time. You are trusting that His hand is guiding you even when you cannot feel His touch. We see this blind trust modeled in the life of Job, a man who lost everything in a single day. He sat in the ashes of his life, his body covered in sores, his family gone, and his friends accusing him. He looked for God in his despair, but he found only a vast, terrifying silence. In Job chapter 23, verses 8 through 10, he expresses this search with deep beauty. He writes, Look, I go forward, but He is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive Him. On the left hand where He works, I cannot behold Him. When He turns to the right hand, I cannot see Him. Yet, in the very next breath, Job declares his blind trust. He writes, But He knows the way that I take. When He has tried me, I shall come out as gold. Even when God was completely invisible, Job knew that his path was known to the Father. He trusted that the trial was not a punishment, but a refining process that would reveal his true value. You must understand, chosen one, that only those trusted with a great inheritance are trusted with a silent season. An ordinary servant does not need to be tested in the dark. They are only given simple tasks in the light. But a prince, an heir to the kingdom, must learn to obey even when the king is silent. Your silent season is not a sign that you have failed. It is the ultimate validation of your chosen status. God is testing your capacity to hold on to His promise without the support of feelings. He is building a faith in you that cannot be shaken by the storms of life. If you can trust Him when He is quiet, you can trust Him through anything. This quietness is the soil where your spiritual maturity grows. It is where you move from a baby faith that requires constant sweet milk to a mature faith that can eat solid food. Do not resent the silence, chosen one. It is the place where your royalty is established. You are being prepared to carry a crown of glory, and the silence is your coronation chamber. If you are ready to stand in this silent chamber and declare your trust in the dark, let us do so now. Let us show the heavenly realms that we will not faint in the quietness of the night. We will wait on the Lord. knowing that He is working behind the scenes. Write in the comments right now, "Stay in silence." Let this be your anchor in the quiet, a declaration that you are not running away. As you type these words, let a holy quietness settle over your heart. Release the need for immediate answers and let your soul rest in His character. He knows the way you take, and when the trial is complete, you will emerge refined like gold. Your trust is being registered in the books of heaven, and your victory is being sealed. We will now prepare for the sixth prayer, where we learn to guard our hearts from the pain of relational pruning. As you walk the path of your calling, chosen one, you will find that despair does not always come from financial lack or physical trials. Often, the deepest despair is caused by the sudden, unexpected pruning of your relationships. You look around and realize that the people you trusted most have walked away. The friends who promised to stand by you are nowhere to be found in your hour of need. You feel a profound sense of isolation, wondering why God is allowing you to walk this path completely alone. The enemy whispers that you have been abandoned because you are unlovable or because you have made too many mistakes. He wants you to believe that the separation is a sign of rejection, but relational pruning is not a punishment. It is a divine protection. God knows who can handle the weight of your future, and He knows who would drag you back into your past. When He is preparing to lift you to a higher level, He must first disconnect you from those who belong to the lower levels. The separation is painful, but it is necessary. It is the sovereign hand of God clearing the path so that you can run without hindrance. C.S. Lewis captured the essence of this difficult process in a single, powerful quote that has anchored many weary souls. He wrote, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny." Think about that truth in the context of your isolation, chosen one. The hardship of being set apart, of feeling misunderstood by those closest to you, is not a wasted experience. It is the very pressure that God is using to shape you for your extraordinary destiny. An ordinary life can be lived in the crowd, surrounded by the opinions of others. But an extraordinary destiny requires a season of absolute isolation, where you learn to lean only on the arm of the Lord. If God allowed you to remain in the comfort of your old relationships, you would never develop the strength required for your future. You would continue to look to people for validation instead of looking to Him. He is using the hardship of your isolation to break your dependence on human approval. He is preparing you to carry a weight of authority that would crush an ordinary, unprepared person. This brings us to the sixth prayer, a vital shield for your soul, the prayer of boundary protection. When you are isolated and in pain, you are vulnerable to the temptation of bitterness. You look at those who walked away, and you want to ask them why they left. You want to defend yourself against their gossip and correct their false opinions of you. The prayer of boundary protection is the quiet declaration, "Lord, protect my heart and mind from bitterness, and guard my path from the voices of mockers." It is asking God to build a wall of fire around your heart, keeping out the toxic poison of resentment. You are releasing the need to defend yourself, placing your reputation fully in His hands. You are saying, "Father, I close my ears to the whispers of the crowd, and I open them only to your voice." This prayer helps you establish spiritual boundaries, keeping you focused on your assignment. It prevents you from wasting your energy trying to win back people who God has intentionally removed from your life. You are choosing to let them go, trusting that He will replace them with those who belong to your future. To find strength in your isolation, chosen one, look to the young David when he was fleeing from King Saul. David was anointed to be the next king of Israel, yet his reality looked like a disaster. He was hunted like an animal, Forced to leave his home, his wife, and his position in the palace, he found himself completely isolated, hiding in the dark cave of Adullam. It was a place of cold stone, damp walls, and complete darkness. He sat in that cave, wondering if the promise of the kingdom was just a dream. He was surrounded by 400 men who were in distress, in debt, and discontented. He had to carry their burdens while carrying his own pain. Yet, it was in the silence of that cave that David wrote some of his most powerful prayers. It was in the darkness of Adullam that he learned to find his refuge in God alone. He did not look to a palace for safety. He looked to the Lord. You must realize, chosen one, that the cave of Adullam was not David's prison. It was the school of his royal authority. God did not build the king of Israel in the comforts of the palace of Saul. He built him in the cold, silent isolation of the cave. It was in that cave that David learned how to lead, how to trust, and how to find strength when everyone else was failing. The 400 broken men who entered that cave with David emerged as his mighty men, the warriors who would help him establish the kingdom. Your current season of isolation, your own cave of Adullam, is where your future authority is being forged. God has removed you from the applause of the crowd because He wants to teach you how to rule in the dark. He is building a resilience in you that cannot be bought in a store or learned in a classroom. Do not look at your isolation as a waste of time. It is the very place where your training is being completed. You are being prepared to sit on a throne, and the cave is your classroom of power. If you are ready to accept the training of the cave and let God protect your path from bitterness, let us declare it now. Let us show the enemy that we will not let bitterness take root in our hearts. We will keep our eyes fixed on the destiny ahead, refusing to look back at those who walked away. Write in the comments right now, "Protect my path." Let this be your boundary line, a declaration that your heart is guarded by the peace of God. As you type these words, feel the chains of resentment and the desire for revenge fall away. Commit your reputation and your relationships to the one who sees all things. He is clearing your path, and the people He has for your future will arrive at the perfect, appointed time. We will now step into the seventh and final prayer, where we seal our destiny and receive the promise of peace. This brings us to the seventh and final prayer, the crowning petition that seals your spiritual victory, the prayer of sealed destiny. This is the prayer that looks beyond the cave, beyond the furnace, and beyond the silence of the night. It is the prayer that declares with absolute authority, "Lord, I receive your promise, and I step into the future you have prepared for me." When you pray this prayer, chosen one, you are no longer asking for rescue, you are claiming restoration. You are declaring that every season of despair was not a waste, but a preparation. You are recognizing that the years of pruning were necessary to clear the ground for a harvest of peace. You are saying, "Father, I receive the restoration of all the years that the locust has eaten." This is the prayer that seals your heart in the covenant of His faithfulness. It is the final seal upon your training, the declaration that you are ready to carry the weight of your calling. You are no longer defined by the trials of the past, but by the glory of the future. You are stepping out of the shadows of the cave and into the light of your appointed destiny. We find the eternal foundation of this prayer in the words of the prophet Jeremiah. In Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, God speaks directly to His people while they were in exile. They were in despair, feeling that their nation was destroyed and their hope was lost. Yet, God sends them a message of profound, sovereign comfort. He declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This is not a temporary promise. It is a permanent covenant. God does not say that He will make plans. He says that He already knows the plans He has for you. They are plans that were written before you took your first breath. They are plans designed to bring you into a place of peace, prosperity, and purpose. The trials you have endured were not meant to destroy you. They were allowed to position you. He knows the exact weight of the burdens you carry. He knows the exact number of tears you have shed on your pillow. He did not lead you into this wilderness to abandon you here. He led you here to show you that He alone is your source. When you look back on your journey from the place of victory, chosen one, you will see the hand of God in every detail. You will realize that the silence of the night was the space where He was doing His deepest work. The cave of Adullam was where He was building your character, and the furnace of pain was where He was refining your faith. Every ending you experienced was simply the preparation for a new beginning. Your trials were not the end of your story. They were the labor pains of your destiny. You are now emerging from the wilderness as a refined, powerful vessel of His glory. You carry a weight of authority that can only be forged in the fire of affliction. Do not look back at the ashes of your past with regret or sorrow. Look forward to the unburdened future that God has prepared for you. He has already cleared the path, and the harvest of your faithfulness is ready to be gathered. The road ahead of you is completely clear of the obstacles that once blocked your path. The mockers who laughed at your isolation will marvel at your promotion. The enemies who tried to trap you in your despair will watch God lift you high. Your future is safe in His sovereign hands. Let us now seal these 7 prayers with a unified spoken covenant prayer. If you are able, open your hands in a gesture of reception and repeat these words in the quiet of your heart. Father, I bring my honest pain to you, knowing that you hear every cry. I surrender the control of my life, my timing, and my outcomes into your hands. I receive your quiet strength, and I choose to listen for your whisper in the storm. I remember your faithfulness in the past, and I trust you for my future. Even when I cannot see you, I declare my blind trust in your character. Protect my heart from bitterness, and guard my path from the voices of mockers. I receive your promise of restoration, and I step into the destiny you have prepared for me. In Jesus' name, Amen. Let this prayer settle deep into your spirit, sealing your peace and your victory. As we bring this message of hope to a close, chosen one, I want to thank you for walking this path with me today. If this message has brought comfort to your soul, I invite you to join our community. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with someone who is currently walking through their own dark valley. Let us be the voice of encouragement to those who are in despair. And before you go, write in the comments, right now, I receive peace. Let this be your final seal of faith, a testimony to the spiritual realm that your heart is at rest. You are no longer walking in despair. You are walking in the assurance of His calling. The dark night is fading, and the dawn of your restoration is breaking. Receive now this final prophetic blessing as you step forward into your destiny. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. May He guard your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. May He fill your home with His presence and your heart with His quiet strength. Go in peace, chosen one, for the one who called you is faithful, and He will do it. Amen.